Mining has never been the safest of jobs, but I'm sure you wouldn't quite expect this kind of danger. The tale is far worse than you imagine, and will have you battling for the very grip on your sanity. Don't forget to like and subscribe before it's too late. It begins in the icy wastes of the frozen land named Northrend. The best plans are laid out in advance, and a boat packed with supplies sits in Menethil Harbour. Dwarves and sea-hardened humans are ready to set forth on a new prospecting adventure. Times have been tough, so tough that seeking your fortune in a land inhabited by the endless army of the dead might seem appealing. It was a long and treacherous journey, battered by the wind and sea every step of the way, as if the elements themselves are rising up in opposition. But they must press on. What little money they had has been bet on success, and if they cannot return with something, they might as well not return at all. It felt like an eternity, but there, in the distance, land is sighted. Sea-worn steep cliffs, green rolling hills of the howling Fjord. The weather is milder here. It would be pleasant if not for the streams of wind rushing in from all directions, creating a nearly ceaseless howling. But the perfect site has already been scouted in advance, and the promise of fortune has everyone worked up into a frenzy. The air was crisp, and as usual, the unpacking and subsequent setting up of the camp took an inordinate amount of time. The now restless crew were just itching to get started. The sooner this was over, the sooner they could return home, hopefully a damn sight richer than when they left. As soon as the camp was good to go, they got to work, hewing and chipping at the rocks, and this would continue this way for many months. So far, nothing had been found, save for a few small deposits of cobalt, but nothing to even cover the costs of travel. That is, until the 5th day of the 4th month, they hit something extraordinary. A ginormous vein of green ore was hit. The quality of the metal under inspection was both unusual and incredible. It was harder than arcanite and ultra lightweight, but it was as if the metal itself breathed. The military applications of this ore were endless, thought the foreman. But it was over the next few weeks that the fever really began to set in. It was subtle at first, the workdays getting longer, the workers more and more eager to excavate further and further down, and the more veins of this green metal they would find. Meal times were being pushed later and later, and eventually being left out altogether. Even into the twilight hours, the familiar grinding of metal and stone could be heard. Such occurrences were not uncommon. The morale boost of hitting a treasure like this would often spur the miners on, but in this case, something just felt off. strange shadows in the corners of your eye that moved with unnatural speed, and the air was thick and heavy even in this cold air. It was gnawing in the back of everyone's mind. The expedition had finally descended into madness when they stopped sleeping altogether. Something dark, something ancient was compelling them to continue. Then the whispering began. The miners were talking in low, guttural tones to themselves, and had taken a liking to scrawling strange, geometric shapes first into the rocks, and then into their flesh. But the truly terrifying part was sometimes, in the dark places, if you listen closely, something was whispering back. The usually fearless Vrykul that called this land home could sense something emanating from this now cursed camp, and began giving it a wide berth, until, after a few weeks later, deep into the night, the mining suddenly stopped. It was a kind of deathly silence. The wind had stopped howling, and no animal dared make a noise. You could taste the fear in the air. It was out of this silence the first one was sighted. A humongous fleshy beast had risen out of the pit. The body was humanoid, but had no face to speak of, just a series of long, oozing tentacles draped in its place. More and more they shambled forth, consuming everything in their path. The miners, however, were never seen again, save for rumours and odd sightings across the darker regions of Northrend. They did not know what lurks beneath the very ground they tread. Deep beneath the crust something was stirring, something living, something unspeakable. Its true form is unknowable, something even the very sight of would drive you mad. It was prisoned here when the world was young, and this strange green ore that has been seen in the world before, Saronite it is called, and this is the ancient being's blood. It is told that deeper still within the frozen wastes of the storm peaks lies the entrance to his prison, where the very jailers themselves have gone mad. His dark influence is subtle. It will lie to you and make you question everything that you know. But this Saronite, it could be anywhere now. While the Lich King's army of the dead were known to use it in great quantities, from reinforcing their citadel to armouring their troops, it always seemed as though they were resistant to its dark call. I'm sure having the Lich King in your head leaves little room for anything else. The undead forces had been mining this blood for so long. The supply seemed limitless, but then Arthas was slain in the great siege of the Ice-Crown Citadel, and the mining stopped. But what became of this massive supply? It was Garrosh, the now freshly appointed war chief at the time, that was reinforcing the horde, eager to make a name for himself. And he, for one, would never let this powerful metal go to waste. Surely the mighty orcs could resist this pathetic ore's influence, right? Well, I'm sure he was right. He would never resurrect an old god, create an alternate rift in time, or cause another invasion, or Actually, he did do all of that. How much time have you spent in Orgrimmar lately? Are you feeling okay?